I'll just add two quick things. I think to your point, your communications point, LA has a geography problem. We had that problem with the fires, right? The headline that went around the world was City of Ashes, or City of Angels reduced to City of Ashes. And so Patty left, but LA Tourism has made unprecedented investment in advertising Los Angeles. And one of the things we'll always say, it's really important that you guys post, that you guys invite people to come, that are elected to do so. Everybody does so, because the things that are occurring that make news are almost always not positive, and are almost never widespread throughout the city and throughout the county. So that's our challenge. We're meeting that with resources. I would say one of the things that at least the hospitality industry has been pretty proactive with is meeting with the sheriff, meeting with the new police chief for Los Angeles, and really talking through. There are about 7 points of entry that are the largest points of entry for people coming into the Los Angeles area. And yes, lots of them are on their way to Inglewood, and sometimes they don't even know they've made the transition from Los Angeles to Inglewood. And so we've talked to them about really innovative and sort of different approaches to public safety presence in those particular areas, because we know that when people arrive in Los Angeles and they feel safe, they go do more things. They go to your businesses, they spend more money, they have a better impression. And on our little sheet of questions, that was going to be one of the things that we actually hope is permanent, is the opportunity to build those infrastructures in those common ports of entry into Los Angeles, through trial and error with these events that we hope would be permanent, as those will be important tourism investments, and investments just in the Los Angeles region in general.
Excellent. We're going to handle 2 last questions. And so go ahead and let's have 2 people answer Brenda's question, then we'll get 1 more question and 2 others, and that'll give us our time to wrap up. Brenda,
thanks very much.
Introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Brenda Trainer. I'm here representing Medea Tech Launch, which is an educational organization in the San Gabriel foothills that concentrates on essentially the area of the 210 and 605 to encourage entrepreneurship in technology companies. Therefore, you can tell my interest is very much in the smaller cities. And there are 2 elephants dancing in the room. It's the city and the county. And yet there are 88 other little people dancing around, not necessarily little, they're medium ones. Okay, I'll give you Long Beach and Pasadena, and I'll give you Inglewood. But there are then all these 85 other dancing little people running around. And I haven't heard, with the exception of Sheriff Skeen, talk about how to coordinate with those other 80-some odd entities and organizations, and how we're building them in, how we're pulling in hotel services in the other cities. And obviously Metro works all the time with so many of the other cities. You know, we will learn not to say Gold Line at some point in time. But tomorrow I'm going to test you, because I'm going to go from Monrovia to Long Beach on 1 train on the Blue Line. So we're good to go. But do tell me, how are you addressing pulling in not only the elected officials, but the professional staffs of all of these other cities to coordinate these initiatives?
Yeah, that's a great question. And from a transportation perspective, you're absolutely right. You know, Metro is one of the operators within the region, but there's 17 other major municipal operators. We also fund transportation improvements for all the 88 cities in the county. So, you know, as the money comes in from sales tax measures, it comes out from us to those various jurisdictions, and then especially with the 17 major municipal operators. As it relates to transportation and coordination, we are coordinating with them. You know, when I talked about the Gaines Enhanced Transit System, it's really building in their system as well, bringing them into providing some of that service as well, before we get into looking at borrowing other buses from other cities and whatnot, and staffing. As it relates to just bringing professionals from the various departments through for the games, the 2028 games, we are hosting regional convening meetings where we're bringing in the local jurisdictions, different parts of their government. We're bringing in the port districts, the airport, tourism, hotel, obviously security and whatnot. So we're trying to be a regional convener to be able to bring everyone together in one space to talk about everything that goes on relative to the Olympics and Paralympics planning.
Yeah, just recently, we met at SoFi. We had a number of interested parties from all over our sub-region, the South Bay sub-region, and some of the outside areas from the South Bay. Well, we just sat in at SoFi and talked to each other, talked about what our concerns are, talked about what our issues are, talked about the ways we want to be able to benefit from the activities that are going to be coming to bear. Not only the short-term activities, everybody's obviously talking about the Olympics, but we were talking about things that are going to happen beyond that, right? I think one of the things that, we get hyped up over these particular events and they provide, a great talking points, but at the end of the day, things keep going, and what are we going to do? And I love what you said on the hospitality side. How are we going to take these events and use them as things that are sustainable long term, right? And so I think part of the response to the question is really intentionality, being intentional about the dialogue that needs to occur, because even across the 88 cities, there's commonality, right? There's the things that we all are concerned about. Our mayor always talks about cutting trees, making sure streets are safe, making sure we have safety issues, transportation issues are resolved. Our mayor sits on the LA Metro board and he chaired it for a number of years, where he was kind of imparting some of his vision and some of the things that happen across the region. So I think it is just more of those things. And I think she said something that's very important with regard to, there you are. You moved over there and you went over there. I was like, what happened? She left. She asked a question and left. So there you are. I know the electeds, you look beyond the electeds, but the electeds set the tone for what we as staff do, right? Without their thumbs up, we don't cross the borders, right? Absolutely.
Now in 28.
Absolutely. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that the visions are aligned no matter who's in office, right? That we all are on the same page about that. And I know I've had some pretty intimate conversations with Mayor Bass, obviously Mayor Butts, about what their visions are. They're going to outlive them, right? And so this is where staff stabilizes itself, because we're in this thing for the long haul. 17 years at the city of Inglewood, I'll probably retire out with 20 or 25 years. So while I've had mayors come and mayors go, and councilmen come and council members come and go, we've been fairly consistent from a staff standpoint. So I think that's what it is. And really at the highest level of leadership, your city manager, your assistant city managers, your directors being on one accord with each other. I think that's one of the things we've been able to do with the city of Inglewood, and we try and share that with our partners.
Okay. Jackie's going to sneak in on this answer for Brenda, and then we're going to do one
I
last
know.
question, and the
breaking
sheriff's
the
going to
rules.
get the one answer, because then we got to wrap. Go
But
ahead.
I'll just say, when you look at new hotel development, smaller cities outside of the city of Los Angeles have been outpacing. So Burbank built more hotels last year than the city of Los Angeles. So those things are occurring. I would also say, because this is the business group, when you think about these events, so cities are major procurers, but so are hotels. And a lot of hotels are going to have to provide services that they don't typically do. Hotels that don't provide meals are going to have to provide meals. They're going to hire florists. They're going to do all of these things in the hotels. And so I would say there's going to be a lot of those opportunities, and you don't have to be located in the city. And one of the places that I think is primed, and for some of the biggest hotel expansion is going to be Inglewood. So thinking about where hospitality and tourism is expanding, a lot of that is going outside of the city limit. And so I would urge you to take advantage of those opportunities. And also, you don't have to be located next to a hotel to serve a hotel if you're a business. So I would just make that pitch as you're thinking about services you can give governments. The people hosting them are also going to need a lot of stuff and a lot of vendors.
All right, sir, you get the last question.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Greg Doolin, and I'm a second-generation restaurant owner. I own Doolin's Soul Food Restaurant and Catering Company, and I'm proud to say this is our 50th year in business. We started in 1975. I got a couple of questions real quick. I was recently at an event where the mayor spoke, and she said that the 2028 Olympics are going to be the carless Olympics. And when she said that, everybody looked at each other and said, what? And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that plan may look like, if you have an idea what that's all about, because I can't envision Los Angeles being carless, and that's one thing. And then lastly, I'm just going to sneak this in. If you can just touch on how the homeless issue will be dealt with during that time when we have all these visitors and all these eyes and cameras from around the world looking at our beautiful city. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick and maybe try
Jason will do homelessness.
Jason. Yeah, as far as carless, I think we're going to transit first. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with the security perimeter, right? The security perimeter, because it's an NSSE event, is going to be basically around the entire every single one of those event venues. And so you're not able to get in to be able to park close to it. And that's why we're creating this GET system, this Games Enhanced Transit system. And the premise of that is really saying that, we know that people are probably going to drive, they may take Uber, Lyft, whatnot, and hopefully, our transit system, they will take our transit system to these major transfer points, and then we will shuttle them over, much like we do with the SoFi Stadium Express and the Dodger Stadium Express and so forth. This is just going to be on a much, much grander scale. So that's what we're planning right now, is to provide those kind of shuttle services point to point from various park and ride locations, mobility hubs, major transfer centers, directly to the various venues. But the issue is that it's not just one game in one location every day. It's multiple games in multiple locations and multiple events during the day at the same venue. So now you're dealing with ingress and egress at the same time. And when you have overlap in those types of events, now you have to double up on the number of parking spaces you need because people didn't leave before the new people came. And then likewise, you need more buses as well. So we're working with LA28 to try to space out as much as possible that schedule so that we can reduce some of that overlap and duplication. I'll turn it over to you.
Sheriff, close us out. Solve the homeless problem. Unsheltered folks in our region.
I can do that.
There we go. Let's hear you.
I'll just loop in a little bit on the vehicle issue. It is going to be challenging because we are attached to our vehicles here in LA County because we know there's a parking problem, right? It's just intuitive to be attached to our vehicles. It is going to be a challenge even for our own personnel to get to some of these sites and where they're going to park, and they're going to have to get used to being shuttled into their assignments for the day. Some of these venues will empty and refill 4 to 5 times a day. Imagine like Dodger Stadium refilling into it. That's going to be a challenge. We recognize some of that. So LA28 is setting up a VAP system for your vehicle access program, and you'll have a pass if you're one of the authorized vehicles, and a lot of it will be metro based and things of that nature that allow for people to get to venues very quickly. Some of the things, I've got to be in Paris in 23, and then I was back in Paris in 24, and wow, what a difference during how well it was organized. And we saw that with London as well. I was on the phone with London this morning. You're seeing some of the lessons learned. The IOC has got this down relatively to a T. When it comes to homeless, each city has in fact dealt with it differently. I was again watching things in 23 with Paris. This is going to be interesting to what I saw in 24. And they did set up a site about 10 miles outside in which they encouraged the homeless to go to, and they provided resources that were above and beyond their normal, and that's how they kind of dealt with it. I was like, where'd the homeless go? And I found them, but it took me like 20 minutes to get there. That was their prerogative in dealing with it. What we deal with on our side, we recognize that each of our cities deal with it on a different challenge basis. We're now finding and seeing some of the homeless counts starting to go down in some of our cities where there's that engagement. Right. Engagement is really critical for those cities that have been delayed in engaging. Like I was the captain over in Carson, and we had a 76% decrease in homelessness in my 5 years while I was there, and part of it was the engagement piece of it, right? It's getting those vehicles off the street, allowing kids to go to school, and then of course the appearance of the community. But a lot of that doesn't happen if you don't engage them, and we do have the dollars coming in, and now we just need to see the benefits of those dollars. We recognize that that is a challenge on our side. For us, it is about working with our partners, whether it's at LASA or whatever not, just to make sure that we're fully engaged. We have nearly 27 different teams that deal with homeless outreach, and we're partnered with a lot of the collaborative groups, including mental health and so on and so forth. If you do have those issues that start to impact you at your business level, we do have a teams that for our areas that we service and even our partnership communities, let us know. We will help to engage those areas prior to the Olympics as well too.
Yeah, and I'll just say, lastly, for Inglewood, I think one of the things that we've done early on in dealing with the unhoused is really spending a little bit more time interacting with them, not seeing them as migratory, because they end up being migratory, which means that if you shoo them away here, they go over there, right? So it'll just move the problem. The problem never goes away. So you have to really engage with them, and that's what we've been able to do. Matter of fact, I think we've probably placed maybe 4 or 5 of our homeless population, which seems low, but with family who didn't know where they were. So those types of things, approaches, other than just trying to believe that you're going to fix that particular problem. On the transportation side, one of the things that we're experiencing right now is, as these major events happen in a city like Inglewood, we have a pretty large residential population around our venues. And going through the difficulties of how they migrate during those events. And so we've taken it, we've really paid a lot of attention to a lot of conversation that's coming from our owners and our renters in the area on how they migrate through. To your point, how do we create a system where they're easily recognizable so they can get in and out? Because even though you may have a perimeter, people who live in there are in the perimeter. So you have to consider that and what impact that's going to have on transportation movement. So we're looking at all those things.
Let's give them a round of applause. Tracy, Corinne, Chris, Jason, Jackie, thanks for joining us today. Jackie has even stayed longer and has a board meeting. Thanks for toughing it out. So, ladies and gentlemen,